Hello! Just a little track guide for the folk over at Bongo Racing for their upcoming Bahrain Outer Warriors race. Or obviously for anybody else who might find it useful. Excuse me. I'd just like to clarify, I am by no means a professional driver, nor am I a professional teacher. But I do reasonably well, so I just thought I'd do my best to convey some of the stuff I'm trying to do, and hopefully it will help people out in some capacity. So, yeah, enjoy! Okay, here we go. Right, first things first, a little Dave cam trick here. If you go to your chase cam on a straight, this has to be on a straight, and go right over so your left hand tyres are on the line, so the very edge of the track. Just come to a stop there and then go back to your driving camera. That gives you some kind of reference so you know when you're right over to the left of the track. So in this case, that white line is pretty much level with the left-hand side of the little instrument binnacle. So I know there that I'm on the left, and you do the similar process to the right. And that should give you some reference if you're struggling to figure out exactly where the car is on the track. Hopefully that will help a little bit. So yeah, so you're powering down here, flat out, over the start-finish line. Turn this down a little bit. Braking wise, and get yourself over to the left as much as you can, and you start to brake at the 150 board there. It'll probably be in sixth gear in this car. In other cars it'll probably still be 5th gear. One thing to bear in mind though is when you watch other people drive, even myself when I watch myself drive, it looks like people are braking later than they are. At least definitely does in my case. I assure you, I choose to brake at the 150 board, but when you watch it back it looks like I'm braking after that. I assume it's because you're traveling at a decent speed and the reaction of deciding, right, I'm going to brake, takes a couple of nanoseconds to actually register on the screen as some sort of action. So whilst it might look like I'm braking after that, I'm not. That's the 150 board is where I decide to go onto the brakes. Hope that makes sense. So yeah, brake down all the way to 1st gear in every car except the Corvette. The Corvette seems to prefer 2nd gear. Don't know why. Stay over to the left. As soon as you've started to brake, you need to try and focus your vision on that apex there where that little cone is. Keep the steering straight as you can. Stay over to the left as late as you can, but you need to be looking over there. That will allow your brain to naturally kind of tell you when you need to turn in to get a nice tight apex. What else do you need to do? You need to also, when you're braking hard, you want to be on the threshold where the ABS is just starting to kick in, but you don't want to go full ABS, and you also don't want to brake softly. So about 80-90% I would say is about right, and certainly in this car. Excuse me. And then as you get to about this point here, you want to come off the brake very, very smoothly, do a little bit of a trail brake, and turn in here. Get as close to that cone or whatever it is, marker, as you can without actually hitting it. And then this is a very tricky corner because from pretty much this point onwards it's flat, but it's only flat if you get certain things correct, which is quite hard to do. So at this point you want to get back on the power as smoothly as you can. Now the way I tend to do it is like if you treat the accelerator almost as a 2-stage thing. So you press it sort of roughly 30-40%, which should throw the weight to the back of the car and give you the grip. And then a second or well, half a second, probably less than that even, if later you then go full power, which then allows you to accelerate. So as you're doing that, you want to get as far over to the right as you can. Not right over onto those marbles and things, but about in the middle of the track here where we are. Probably go up to 2nd gear here, which you won't let me do because I'm going too slow. And then again, your vision, you need to be looking through the corner. I can't do that right now because the A-pillar is in the way, but beforehand and after this point it can. And you want to basically get across here in as smooth an arc as you possibly can. And you should be full on acceleration here. Now what will often happen is after you've done that section there, you'll come over here and you'll think, shit, I'm going to go off the track. So you will naturally try and turn the wheel more. Now that's not the best idea, because all that does is sort of choke the car and stop it from being able to accelerate. If you are not going to make the corner and you are going to drift off, the best thing to do is to just lift off the throttle a little bit, but don't add steering lock. Once you've gone into the acceleration zone out of a corner, you really shouldn't be needing to add any more steering lock unless you absolutely have to. So the best, if you need to make adjustments to anything, it's easier to do it with just smooth lifting off the throttle rather than trying to add sudden steering lock, which will make the car, well, you're asking too much of the car really, and it's going to piss it off essentially. But anyway, as you come up here, you will naturally drift over onto this curb, and as you can see, it's got a sort of raised lip halfway along it. That should sort of be the limit of where you want to go, and that will stop the car going any further over to the right. Should. So down here you get up to, I think, 5th gear in this car, just basically obviously flat out along here until we get to here. Now this little service road or whatever it is on the left, I think it's a service road going behind the barrier, that's the braking point for this corner. And here you want to go down to 2nd gear, I think in all cars, 2nd gear here. So same process as the previous one, you want to be as far to the left as you can. Nice late turn in and clip this. Now don't hammer over this curb on the inside too much. Don't kind of hit that cone, for example, because you will then start to bounce, and that makes getting back on the accelerator very, very tricky. So as smooth as you can over here. And again, that 2-stage throttle. So start to give power to stabilize things and then full power. Then again, this is a very difficult sequence, this, because it's all kind of one endless corner that you have to try and make flow as best you can. This corner you have to cut. You see where my tire track is there from a previous lap? So you want to be about there, I would say, as much as you can. Now, you can do that flat, but with this new tire model, it's very, very tricky, and it can suddenly just go on you. So I would suggest, as you go over that little section we've just gone over there, if you lift off the throttle, not completely, but probably down to about 50%, that just means that you're not kind of stressing the rear tires too much with acceleration, so it's less likely to suddenly break away on you. Now this section, some people go right the way over to the left there and then come back across. I tend not to do that. I tend to say stay over here really, and sometimes use this right hand curb. And then you're going up to possibly 4th gear, and here you just want to use the throttle to hug this inside curb as much as you can. I don't tend to go on it, but just as close to the white line as you can keep the car. Round here, sorry, get going again. And then again, you've got the little service road here, which acts as a brake marker. Now this again is a very tricky section because you have to slow down quite a lot here, but as you can see, we're still on a bit of a turn. So what you need to try and do is get the car lined up as much as you can in a straight line, so that when you brake and brake hard, the weight isn't going to be moved from one side to the other, or, you know, kind of throwing you around, because it's very, very easy for the back to overtake the front if you do that. So you want to be as straight as you possibly can. It is possible to do after that service road a little tiny squirt of power and then go on the brakes, but really I would only suggest doing that for qualifying, because you're not going to gain much time from doing that, and it does make it a bit more of a dicey situation getting into this next little sequence here. So yeah, down to 2nd gear here, apart from again in the Corvette, which is better in 3rd. And again, these are corners that you have to cut. Now you want to be looking through the corner, like I've said before. You always want to, it's a really important thing, that make sure that you're looking where you want to go. As soon as you brake, you're looking at the apex. As soon as you reach the apex, you're looking at the exit. You want to always be looking at the next kind of, if you think of it as almost a join the dots type thing, you want to be looking at the next dot that you want to travel towards, and your brain will naturally tell your body to do what it needs to do to send you in that general direction. So yeah, bounce over these as much as you can, and then back over here. This one, you want to, as we discussed before, I know that this section here is when my left wheel is on the white line, which is about as far over as I can go. But you need to do that because this is obviously another long straight. which you need to maximize your exit for if you can. And again, you can drift out here and then cut right across this like so. And flat out, I think get up to 5th gear in this car, and then oh, where I am, sorry, overshot me a little mark there. This where the pinky red curb ends just before the 100 board, that's where I brake for this one. Same process, over on the left, hard on the brakes, smoothly off the brakes. Only difference here is that you can be a little bit more aggressive when you get back on the throttle. You want to turn in, go across the curb, but not too much, otherwise you will bounce. Well, then you can pretty much just put your foot straight back down and allow the traction control to do the work. You've got an awfully wide exit here to play with. Again, don't add lock, just let the car do what it wants to do. If it's going a little bit too wide, ease off the pedal, off the accelerator slightly, and then you know for next time that you went a little bit too fast, or you maybe turned in a little bit too early. The good thing about practice is that you can try different things each time you go round, but the main thing is to not add steering lock after you've gone past the apex of the corner and you're in the acceleration zone. You can say, for example, as you come out of the corner, your steering is at this sort of angle. You start to wind it off. If need be, you can go back to that angle, but not beyond that, because then the trajectory of the car will be affected and it can have unpleasant side effects, I suppose. So yes, I'll try and go around now a little bit quicker and try and talk. I struggle with that, but I will do my best. Not quick, but try and describe what I'm doing.
Time 10:35.6.
So, it's a 6th gear. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. And turn in there. Half accelerator, full accelerator. And like I say, moving the steering wheel as little as you possibly can. Up to 5th. And then down to 2nd. Cut this a little bit and then half full accelerator. Slight lift up to 4th. And 2nd, cross there. Put it a little bit too much perhaps. That would be the bloody case, wouldn't it? I've got track limits there, but not by too much, I don't think. Try one more. Going up to 5th. No point going to 6th here in this car. I hope you can see there a little bit more aggressive with the throttle. And like I say, just trying to keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. As much time with the steering wheel straight and the accelerator down. You can't go far wrong. I turned in a little bit too early for that second part of that then. But again, it's just about familiarity, and I've got the added pressure of knowing I'm recording myself, which makes it difficult to do things you can normally do.
Time 1:14.1.
But yeah, hopefully there is something in there that was of use to people. The key is to just keep practicing, really, but try and practice doing things slightly differently each time, because if you just practice doing the wrong thing, you don't really learn from that. But hopefully there's some information there that will help some of you, and you have any questions or anything like that, then let me know. Thank you. Hopefully there were some useful snippets of information in there. Now going to show you a slightly better lap without me talking, just pulling ridiculous faces. Do apologise. This was in the Lamborghini. If anyone's interested, it was the default setup. I just turned the traction control slip and cut down 1 click and the ABS down to 6, I believe it was. I've tried most of the other GT3s, and getting into the 113s is possible with the default setup, but it's by no means easy. It's with this new tyre model, it's a tricky job. So anybody that gets anywhere near that is doing pretty well, I think. So here we go. Enjoy.
Time 1:13.52.